People associate evil with darkness, but that's not accurate. It is easy to look into the dark. It is very hard to stare into bright light. One should therefore associate evil with extreme brightness, given that people...
What? Why are you always so weird? Again, this one is so easy. What the fuck are you talking about? This is called Is Communism Moral? And I guess we just did a little lesson on the Nazis, and I guess now it's time to learn about the communists, those who defeated the Nazis, the natural enemy of the Nazis. So let's see what happened, and is it moral, and all that fun stuff.
Motives are much less important than behavior. We all know this. If someone has good intentions, but...
Ooh, he's doing this one himself. We haven't seen the old Dennis Prager in some time. This is one near and dear to his heart. All right.
Treats people badly, those good intentions mean nothing. As it is with individuals, so it is with governments. Capitalism might sound less noble than communism. The individual pursues success to the best of his abilities. That's capitalism. Versus everyone shares everything equally.
Already not what either of these things are. That's not like... You're always talking about how the left doesn't understand economics. I mean, at the very least, you should just find the economic system that you're trying to stand up for, you know? It's the right to own and sell property, to capital. You can own and exchange property with other people. That's all there is to it. It's not about the individual pursuing the success to his best of his abilities. That one's called the game of life.
But it is capitalism that has produced freedom, and it alone has lifted millions from poverty, while communism has kept millions impoverished and, without exception, crushed freedom.
Just want to point this out. The United States has the largest prison population in human history. In human history. 1%. 1% of its populace. 1%. It accounts for 25% of all the world's prisoners live in the United States. That's wild. Just wild.
Capitalism, for all its imperfections, enables a decent society. Communism, whatever its stated intentions, leads to evil. Yet increasingly, people either ignore or deny the evil of this ideology, which within a period of only 60 years created modern totalitarianism and deprived more people of human rights and tortured and killed more people than any ideology in history.
Also want to add this, that the Nazis, in order to understand how to fully enact eugenics within their own country, actually looked to the American model. They were, and the Canadian one, I should add. They were quite astute at taking the worst parts of both Western capitalist societies and being like, well, let's emulate that. We got ourselves a eugenics program now.
How can we explain this? There are two ways. One is ignorance. People just don't know the truth about communism. The second is willful blindness. People know the truth, but choose to ignore it because the truth about communism's horrors is too painful to confront. Given the sad state of our educational system, we can assume most people fall into the first category. They just don't know. So let me offer some facts. But before I do, I need to address another question. Why is it important that everyone know what communism did? Here are 3 reasons. First, we have a moral obligation to the victims of communism not to forget them. Just as Americans have a moral obligation to remember the victims of slavery, we have the same obligation to the billion victims of communism, especially the 100 million who were murdered. Second,
So right there, it's pretty obvious where we're going with this, right? Like you understood. He's not talking about communism as an ideology. He's not talking even as communism as a political faction. He's talking about communism in regards to Stalinism. That's what he's referring to. And I'm guessing Maoism as well. It's going to be a combination of Stalinism and Maoism, but that's basically it. So we're going to get the hundreds of billions of bodies, trillions of bodies, not to mention the unborn babies that could have been born had it not been for their parents being in communist hellscape. That's it, you know?
The best way to prevent an evil from reoccurring is to confront it in all its horror. The fact that many people today, especially young people, mention communism as a viable option for modern society proves they don't know communism's moral record. Therefore, they do not properly fear communism, which means this evil could happen again. And why could it happen again? That brings us to reason number 3. The leaders of communist regimes and the vast number of people who helped those leaders torture, enslave, and murder were nearly all normal people. Of course, some were psychopaths, but most were not, which means that any society, including free ones, can devolve into communism or some analogous evil.
I like that. Also, by the way, if we're going to talk about the birth of a nation, are you going to mention the capitalist one that you love so much? Because, I mean, that would be 2 big events, right? It would probably be the largest genocide in human history. And then that would be combined with slavery following up, shortly thereafter. So we got those 2 things. That's the birth of America.
Now some facts, based on the authoritative Black Book of Communism, written by 6 French scholars and published in the United States by Harvard University Press.
Man, that sucks. You have to go to these lengths. People already take your authority on the subject. Like, you're not going to convince someone new who's like, oh shit, what, 6 French scholars? I was told it was only 5. My word. What? Yeah, tell me more. Yeah, je suis capitalism now.
Here are the numbers of people murdered by communist regimes. Not soldiers, ordinary civilians. Vietnam, 1 million.
Oh,
Eastern Europe.
This one's going right to the body, son. Yo, let's give me all that communism murder porn. Let's do it. Oh yeah, baby.
1 million. Ethiopia, 1.5 million. North Korea, 2 million. Fuck. Cambodia, 2 million.
Goddamn.
The Soviet Union.
How did the Khmer Rouge come about? How did that happen? You gonna bring that one up? Are you gonna talk about that one? Yeah? Could it be the illegal bombing campaign where you killed hundreds of thousands of civilians? Could it be that? And the chaos therein led to the Khmer Rouge? Just saying. I mean, you don't really have to take direct blame for some of these, but that's certainly one.
In 20 million, China 65 million.
My God.
And the numbers are conservative. And of course, these numbers do not describe the suffering endured by hundreds of millions of people who were not murdered. The systematic stripping people of their right to speak freely, to worship freely, to start a business, or even to...
So you have to be privileged to be able to get a loan to get that business. Hopefully you're white. I'll give you this. You do have a secular society, unless you're Muslim. But, well, I mean, you still, just depends on where you come from, But this one for sure. This one, you got freedom of speech. So, checkmate communism.
Travel without party permission. No non-communist judiciary or media. The poverty of nearly all communist countries, the imprisonment of vast numbers of people.
Are you going to talk about China? Because you mentioned China in your list. You're definitely including China in the big old black book of deaths. Are you going to talk about poverty, lifting people out of poverty? Are you going to talk about what they've done in the past couple decades in terms of being a financial juggernaut? Like straight kicking your ass at God.
And of course, the trauma suffered by the hundreds of millions of friends and relatives of the murdered and imprisoned.
This one is easy in terms of PragerU videos. Like, they're still being so vague. I feel like this is one of the ones where they could actually be like, hey, the Holodomor was a horrible, horrific crime. Let's interview, the grandchild of someone who actually died in the Holodomor. This is like my Ukrainian my great grandma died during that period, or something to that effect. Or you could have brought on any one of people to talk about the atrocities. And for PragerU, this one seems like a freebie, and yet you're still doing this ambiguous, like, tears, horror, sadness.
These numbers don't tell you about the frozen millions in the vast Soviet Siberian prison camp system known as the Gulag Archipelago, or the Vietnamese communists' routine practice of burying peasants alive to terrorize other peasants into supporting the communists, or Mao Zedong's regular use of hideous tortures to punish opponents and intimidate peasants. People associate evil with darkness, but that's not accurate. It is easy to look into the dark. It is very hard to stare into bright light. One should therefore associate evil with extreme brightness, given that people...
What? Why are you always so weird? Again, this one is so easy. What the fuck are you talking about? Who do you share these with? I've never understood the appeal of this. Did you send it to your friends in high school? It's like, hey bro, did you see about this? Oh man, I don't want to be a communist now. Yeah, I know it seems base and all that, but like extreme brightness, dog, you saw that, right? Like flashing lights. Yeah, it's science.
Rarely look at real evil. And those who do not confront real evil often make up evils, like systemic racism in 21st century America, or toxic masculinity, or patriarchy, that are much easier to confront. The book of Psalms states, those of you who love God must hate evil. If you don't believe in God, here's another way of putting it. Those of you who love people must hate evil.
Whew.
If you don't hate communism, you don't care about, much less love, people. I'm Dennis Prager. Thank you for watching this video. To keep PragerU videos...
So let's keep humping a system that disproportionately creates billionaires and funnels all the wealth into one side of society. That sounds like it's gonna be fun. I wanted to read y'all a passage. I think that might be actually relevant to some of this. Hold on, I just gotta change some things. You'll have to excuse my glasses. The brightness of evil was overtaking me, so... Let's try oh, better. Hey, everybody. So this is from that same book I was talking about earlier, Understanding Socialism. Has some interesting passages, but this explains it. And this is why the microeconomic aspect of this should be something we talk about. Socialist workplaces could and should fundamentally different from capitalist workplaces in the alternative view of socialism. In the capitalist workplaces, a small group of owners, boards of directors selected by owners, or basically dictators, make all the key decisions. In doing so, they are not accountable to the mass of employees or others affected by their decisions. In the internal organization, capitalist workplaces were and are still fundamentally undemocratic. They exclude majorities from power, and surely and completely as monarchies exclude their subjects. The socialist alternative to capitalist organizations entails the democratization of the workplace internal structure. Every employee now has a constituent voice. It's glasses. It's not my inability to pronounce words. Equal to all other employees in deciding what the workplace produces, what technology it uses, where the production occurs, and what is done with the net revenues or surplus generated. In effect, this model of the employees is known as collectively as the employer-employee dynamic being shattered. The age-old dichotomy of master and slave, lord and serf, employer-employee is finally displaced and overcome. The concept of socialism thus represents a fundamental historical break from the slave, feudal, and capitalist systems. So that would be a better one. I can't see very well. I feel like I'm Tom Cruising too much right now. Not surprising, incomplete transitions from this norm in the passage from slavery to feudalism to capitalism, from feudalism to capitalism, and so on. The emancipation of slaves during the U.S. Civil War, for example, led to various subsequent relations of production, sharecropping, dependent tendencies, and so on that fell short of the economic freedom that ex-slaves brought. So too, that it wasn't achieved by the USSR or by China, because in both of those, the state controlled capitalist organizations. But it's not like the workers have any kind of democracy in the workplace. You're not really doing it at the microeconomic level. So that is more a macroeconomic level. If the state itself controls and oversees and has a planned economy, which can be effective for sure, but you're still not giving democracy to the workers themselves. They don't own the means of their own production. They aren't in charge of what happens within the workplace. So that's why they are often levied by modern day socialists or even modern day communists as not being communist or socialist countries. That's the reason. That's the reason.
Hey, do you like movies? Do you like serfs? Do you want movies and serfs watching the movies? So then come over to the new channels. It's the Serfs Cinema. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Can you do the thing, that thumbs up and comment and all those things that help us out in the algorithm that controls every aspect of our lives? Also, if you happen to have a Facebook account, can you delete it? Like, just delete it. You should probably delete your Facebook account because it's not a great company. But hey, if you can't do that for whatever reason, I understand. And could you also go to facebook.com/thesurftimes then and give us a little like and a follow. We're just trying to push back against the fact that people like Ben Shapiro happen to dominate the platform entirely. And when everyone asks, why do older generations believe the things they believe? One of the problems is the majority of them on social media use Facebook. So to counter that, we're just going to be on there too now. Also, if you happen to have a union or a worker co-op or even a leftist project, podcast, website, Zoom, MySpace, it doesn't matter. We will advertise it for free on this channel. All you got to do is go to weareserfs.com and use the forms that we got there, weareserfs.com. Thanks, everybody.
To our gods, I'm Raft and Xander Corvus. We shall build golden idols in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker. Our soft, spongy flesh is yours to command. To our lords, Evan Nudie, Trevor R., Alexander Thaler, Ryan Lubin, Bisexual Black Gamer, Toe Fox, and Jeffrey Lamb, we proudly carry your sigils onto the battlefield. And to our Knights of the Round Table, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multi Mondi, Timothy Hart, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophagic, Saren 42, Chronic to Hemphog, Callie Kotka, The Great Pudini, Von Janny, Catherine, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Encosin, J. Fraser Cartwright, Jimmy Bignuts, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Nicholas Marks, Jopi, Josh Mickelson, Melissa Murphy, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, and Constance Joyce Lacheris. We tip our cap and lift our mug and salute you.